River to the Sea is trying to wipe out the state of Israel.
This is a chant that basically is known to be calling for the extermination of Jews.
From the river to the sea is an erasure of Israel, the right for Jews to exist.
להעיף אותם, להשמיד אותם עד האחרון בהם.
את מי להשמיד?
כן, את הפלסטינאים, את כולם.
את כל תינוק בעזה הוא אויב.
ילדים המעורבים האלה, בעוד כמה שנים הם באים להרוג אותנו, פה הם לא מחבלים.
עזה צריכה להיות משותחת.
זה הנאצים הכי גדולים שיש. הם האויב שלנו, לא חמאס, זה לא צריך לעשות את הבידוד.
Last weekend, a right-wing British journalist walked into an art exhibition 80 miles from her home that just happened to be organised by a well-known anti-Zionist artist. After coming out of the exhibition, the journalist, who definitely had no idea what the exhibition was about, posted this.
I found myself amidst the worst, the most extreme imagery of anti-Semitism that I've ever seen. This was just obviously immediately using 1930s or worse, imagery. You had, IDF soldiers looking like ghouls, stamping on skulls with the stamping on skulls.
Stamping on skulls. Stamping on skulls.
As ridiculous as all this is, while looking at the photos from the exhibition, one of the photos stood out to me. This alleged piece of Nazi imagery was not something invented by the artist, but based on a real photo posted by an IDF soldier to an Israeli Telegram channel. Like the drawing, the real-life photo includes an Israeli soldier standing on top of a human skull in Gaza, posing with it as if it were a trophy. Countless journalists, politicians, even sitting members of the British government found time to express their outrage at this piece of art, while ignoring the real-life display of psychopathic machismo it was based on. This is no anomaly either. It's just another example of a pattern that has been going on for 2.5 years. Israeli soldiers, officials, politicians, including serving government ministers, say openly violent statements on a regular basis, explicitly calling for the expulsion, starvation, and massacring of civilians, including children. IDF soldiers even openly talk about or post videos of war crimes they committed. Yet this barely gets any acknowledgement by British media or politicians, who are too busy treating any display of sympathy towards Palestinians as if it was an incitement of a second Holocaust. Just look at how phrases like "from the river to the sea" have received such insane levels of condemnation from the British political establishment.
Chant "for the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." Is that an anti-Semitic chant in your view?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those who chant "from the river to the sea" are either useful idiots who do not understand what they are saying, or worse, people who wish to wipe the Jewish state from the map.
Compare that to the popular Israeli slogan, "There are no innocents in Gaza." Here are some examples or variations of this slogan being used by Israeli politicians and media.
המשפט אין חפים מפשע בעזה מעולם לא היה מדויק יותר אחרי שהחף מפשע האחרון חזר משם לצערנו בארון אבל
אין כזה דבר חפים מפשע בעזה, אין חיה כזו.
המחיר האגבי הוא ילדים או נשים או לא מעניין אותי. בג'נין אין אזרחים חפים מפשע. בג'נין אין ילדים תמימים.
בלתי מעורבים. בלתי מעורבים. כולם מעורבים שם.
את כל תינוק בעזה הוא אויב. האויב הוא לא החמאס, ילד בעזה הוא האויב. אנחנו צריכים לכבוש את עזה וליישבה, ושלא יישאר שם ילד עזתי אחד.
Stop all that propaganda. All the children are Hamas.
Are you blaming 2.2 million people for the wrongdoing of 3,500 people?
100%.
Somehow, the British media and politicians haven't really spoken about this popular Israeli slogan. The sentiment of the slogan is not fringe either. 64% of Israelis literally agree with the statement that there are no innocents in Gaza. Even when the Israeli president, Isaac Herzog, said a variation of this phrase in English, The Guardian was the only mainstream British media outlet that reported on it at the time.
We know what river to the sea means. It means wiping out all Jews. It means wiping out Israel.
So why does "from the river to the sea" draw so much outrage? Even if we take the most extreme interpretation of this phrase, it would suggest that Palestinians should have full sovereignty over historic Palestine, and they should achieve that through violently expelling or subjugating the Israelis. Ironically, Israel currently exercises full control over the land between the river and the sea, and has only achieved that through force and violent expulsions. The Israeli government's own charter even asserts Israeli sovereignty from the river to the sea. So in that sense, the slogan is condemned because it supposedly shows implicit support for Palestinians doing to Israelis what Israel has and continues to do to Palestinians. And of course, most protesters aren't actually calling for violent expulsions when they chant from the river to the sea anyway.
So does that mean that all of Israel should be, what is now Israel should be Palestine, in your opinion?
No, I personally don't think that. Ideally, I would like to see one multi-faith state.
And what does it mean to you?
Palestinians to be free, you know?
Well, it says Palestine, so I was asking them which bit of the area.
Yeah, the people that are being oppressed, for them to be free, you know? Yeah. Gaza, West Bank, them people to be free, yeah.
Gaza and West Bank.
Yeah, all Palestinians in general, you know?
Another pro-Palestinian chant that has received huge amounts of condemnation from the British Zionist establishment is Globalise the Intifada.
Is there any other interpretation for the demand to internationalize the Intifada other than a call to attack Jewish communities?
No other interpretation. I'm glad and pleased that he raised it and to give me the opportunity to agree with him.
Intifada as having overtones of violence, Minister?
I think calling for to globalise the Intifada can only really have. I'm not sure what other interpretation there is of Intifada other than like an uprising.
It's Intifada, of course.
Intifada.
Yes.
Sorry, excuse me.
This slogan has generated so much hysteria that the police will now arrest anyone who chants it at protests. Compare that to the popular Israeli slogan, Palestinian children will grow up to be terrorists. This slogan also has some variations in Israel, so let's go through some examples.
You're going to go to fight?
Yes, of course.
You're going to go to...
Yeah. People think that the children and the men and the women in Gaza, they're innocent. Bullshit.
And the children?
The children gonna be, terrorists. They're gonna be killers.
הם ילדים של המבצע הקודם שהשארנו אותם בחיים, של היום בני ה-18, היו ילדים בני 8, בני 10 שנים במבצע הקודם. אז אין כאן, כאילו, זה לא מסתפק כאן.
The war in 2014, right? Those are the kids that we spared then are now the terrorists that did the 7th, right?
It's a bit the implication there being, if you kill a kid now, it's okay.
Everyone, yeah.
עזה יהיה מחבל. מי שהיה ב-2014, יודע מה, בן 8, היה מחבל ב-2023. ילד שגדל היום בעזה, עם מערכת החינוך העזתית, יעשה לך את ה-7 באוקטובר כשהוא יגדל. הוא ישחט את אשתך כשהוא יגדל. הוא יאנוס את אשתך כשהוא יגדל.
The problematic nature with this Israeli slogan is self-explanatory. But for those who don't know, the main issue with the phrase globalize the Intifada is that it is perceived as a call for terrorism because the second Palestinian Intifada involved extreme forms of violence that ended up killing 1,000 Israelis, over 2/3 of them civilian. The objection with this slogan may then seem reasonable, but then it begs the question as to why the term revolution is not instantly associated with beheadings, but a word essentially meaning the same thing in Arabic is instantly associated with terrorism. Similar to revolutions, there have been examples of intifadas where extreme violence took place, but there have also been entirely non-violent intifadas as well.
So you will share the dismay of many that the BBC described the Intifada on its website as largely unarmed and popular.
It's shameful that the BBC, upon being forced to amend their entirely false account, suggesting that this was an unarmed uprising.
The first Palestinian Intifada was predominantly non-violent and unarmed, and its main goal was to pressure Israel to implement a two-state solution. It involved strikes, boycotts, and withholding taxes, as well as other ingenious forms of civil disobedience in response to 20 years of Israeli occupation. Israel decided to clamp down on the protests by breaking the bones of anyone associated with them, and in several cases, unarmed protesters were massacred by the IDF. By the end of the first Intifada, about 10% of the Palestinian population had been wounded by Israel, including thousands of Palestinian children under the age of 10. In fact, the completely disproportionate and violent response by the Israeli state in the first Intifada is one of the main reasons why the second Intifada was much more violent. But of course, this was never recognized in the discourse either, because when the term Intifada is used, we are only told to think about Israeli victims of the second Intifada and not the literal toddlers who had their bones broken by the Israeli army. Hence, we are demonized as terrorist supporters by British Zionists for using terms like globalize the Intifada, while Israeli slogans like Palestinian children will grow up to be terrorists go completely ignored. However, if you want to be generous, maybe British media and politicians just haven't been exposed to this type of genocidal rhetoric that is widespread in Israeli media, because it's not happening in our own country. But then, surely if a group of Israelis with, let's say, a history of racist chanting or even racially motivated violence wanted to come to our country, you'd expect the Zionist political establishment to condemn it just as strongly. Like, what if Israeli football hooligans, who sing stuff like this, Or this. Or this. And have a history of racially motivated violence both in Israel and abroad, wanted to come to the UK. Surely the media would condemn them, right? Right?
I think we're looking at the next Christian act, if we're being brutally honest.
I think this is an anti-Semitic decision.
I think this sends a very difficult message, and I think Sir Keir Starmer is going to have to do something.
Now, Jewish fans can't come to a football match in Birmingham because they won't be safe.
No, of course not. Because when it's Israelis who sing openly violent chants and even attack random minorities on the street, they are still victims, because anti-Semitism or something. I think the hypocrisy of British Zionism couldn't get clearer than this. The British government and opposition have convened multiple times to condemn the supposedly dangerous rhetoric used by anti-Zionist protesters. But when British police make an informed decision to ban Israeli hooligans with a track record not only of violence and racist chants, but with a history of racially motivated violence, it is not only ignored by Zionist politicians, but those same politicians demand an unlimited amount of taxpayer money to be used to protect these racist thugs. And the media's reaction was no different. Take, for example, Telegraph columnist Jake Wallace-Simons. For the best part of 2.5 years, if someone so much as whispers Free Palestine, Simons will be on the news condemning it the next day. But when referring to Maccabi Tel Aviv's famous rape song, yes, it's literally called the rape song, the harshest words Jake used to describe it were allegedly unpleasant. This is a man who criticised the police for not banning Globalise the Intifada chants quickly enough, but when Israeli fans literally sing about raping girls and drinking their blood, he deems it only allegedly unpleasant. This is the ultimate hypocrisy of British Zionism. Pro-Palestine chants are automatically condemned as anti-Semitic, while explicitly violent and racist chants sung by Zionists are forgiven or just completely ignored. And of course, how could we forget this banger?
Alright, but have you heard this one though? Death! Death to the IDF! Death! Death to the IDF! Death! Death to the IDF!
They're being indoctrinated at Glastonbury.
It's appalling, isn't it?
What I found more shocking was the crowd singing along with it.
This caused quite a storm in the media, and frankly, this time I agree with them. What Bob Vylan said was indefensible.
If this rabid anti-Semite wants to learn some peaceful and unproblematic chants, he should learn them from the IDF.
Here's some inspiration for him.
If it wasn't clear by now, British Zionists don't actually care about violent rhetoric. They don't even care about actual acts of violence when they're committed by Israel. But it's important that you fight back. The best way of fighting back against this hypocrisy is exposing its blatant double standards. Every time someone questions the anti-Zionist movement for its rhetoric, just show them statements made publicly by Israeli officials on a daily basis. Because even if we ignore the UN, outside scholars, international courts, human rights groups, and even the Palestinians themselves, all we have to do is point to the Israelis' own public statements, photos, and videos to prove the legitimacy of our movement.
I mean, my jaw dropped, and I just thought, this is not right. You had, IDF soldiers looking like ghouls, stamping on skulls, stamping on skulls,
Stamping on skulls.
Stamping on skulls.